Koena, Quana, Kuner. Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry it's been a little while since I've done a video. I've been moving countries and moving into a new place, so finally settled here in England. I've been away in Malta as well, so I'm just trying to get used to my time zones again and get back on a normal sleeping pattern. So this video is going to be first in like a series of videos I'm going to do as part of this channel called Read and Run, and just going to go over books basically that I've been reading that really helped me out throughout this whole process, especially when I'm injured. Found those two things that really helped me get through injury. First one was just to get outside and just go anywhere that had some sort of nature to it, just get out of the hustle and bustle and just have that connection again with the outside world. And the other one was to read, just to keep that stimulation going, that interest in running, and keep my eyes focused on that goal. So I'm going to do these little episodes called Read and Run, and just going to go over books I've read, I've been reading and are going to continue to read, and just whether I think they're worth you buying, borrowing, or just leaving on the shelf. Some of them you've probably heard of already, especially if you're a runner, so especially the first two, Born to Run and Eat and Run. So if you want to skip my thoughts on those, you can go to this time in the video right here, and that'll go on to the next couple of books for you guys. So without further ado, we'll get into it, and the first one's going to be Eat and Run by Scott Jurek. So first up, Eat and Run by Scott Jurek, probably my favorite ultra marathoner of all time right now. So Eat and Run is a collection of his memoirs from childhood all the way through his marathons, ultra marathons, everything he did in his career up until about 2010. The book includes numerous recipes as well that were staples of Scott Jurek's diet. I guess whilst running, in between running, before runs, after runs. He's probably the most famous vegan ultra marathoner. Which helps me because I am vegan as well, so there's some really good recipes in here that I've tried some and will continue to try the rest. I found the book really interesting. It was great to experience the highs and the lows of being an ultra marathoner. Came from humble beginnings with a simple talent, being able to run, and nurtured that, and didn't see much reward from it for I guess most of his career. Even now, I guess a lot of runners don't get a lot of financial reward for it. I don't think that's the reason a lot of people do ultra marathons, is to get a financial reward, but certainly didn't when he was running. Scott dominated the sport for well over 10 to 15 years, I guess, and I found it very fascinating to get inside the mind of what it's like to take on these kind of challenges and to actually really give everything to this sport, and I think you really do get a feel for that in this book. I can certainly relate to a lot of feelings in this book about running, and I'm sure I'm going to relate to a lot more of them in the future. It gets me very excited to get into this world of ultra running. I 100% would guarantee this book to anybody who's interested in running of any level to read. So if you haven't already, I would definitely go out and buy this book. Son! Next up, Born to Run, a book by Christopher McDougall, written in 2009. Probably the most famous running book. Almost every runner everywhere has probably read this. So it recalls time he spent with a tribe called the Tarahumara, who live in the Copper Canyons of Mexico. And this tribe is renowned for being exceptionally good at running, especially distance running. The story culminates in an ultramarathon set in the Copper Canyons between the Tarahumara, some other tribes surrounding the area, and also a few Western runners of the time, one which was Scott Jurek from that last book. There are some amazing people in this book, some great characters. It introduced the world to people like Barefoot Ted, who was very influential in getting the barefoot running movement up and going. And also a really great character I liked was Caballo Blanco, a guy called Micah True, who really put together that whole race at the end. He for me was probably the star of the book, and felt a lot of connections with the way he felt about running. As I mentioned, did have a guy called Barefoot Ted in it, and he did help start the barefoot running movement, but probably wouldn't have happened without this book. This definitely kicked off the minimalist barefoot hype that there was a few years back. People say it died down, but I think it's still pretty big. A lot of the points for minimalist footwear I do agree with. I definitely wouldn't have started thinking about it without this book. If you've run for the love of running and for the connection you get with everything around you for running, I think you're really going to enjoy this book if you haven't read it already. If you haven't found the connection with running yet, read this book and I guarantee you're going to find a whole new lease of life when it comes to running. This book obviously is going to be a buy. Next up, Hal Koerner's Field Guide to Ultra Running. This is a pretty comprehensive guide to what you need to know to do an ultra marathon, how to choose equipment, treat injuries, training tips, and training plans all included in here. I feel like this book does cover most of the things you need to know to get going on an ultra marathon. It does cover most of the practical questions that I had about ultra running. However, it is a very quick read. I got through this in probably a couple of hours, I guess. So for that reason, it did leave me feeling a little bit shortchanged. I will be coming back to this book for some advice when it comes to the time of doing an ultra marathon. However, at a $27 price tag, do feel like it's a little bit much for what you're getting. For that reason, I would say a borrow. Next up, we have What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami? Again, I don't know. So he's a Japanese predominantly fiction author and runner. He's not a professional runner. He just sort of participates in marathons and runs, 10Ks, things like that. But he's done many marathons. I think he does at least one marathon every year now. He is in his later years. Being in his later years, this book of memoirs would certainly appeal to, I think, runners of a certain age, a little bit older than myself, who may be able to have a little bit more of a connection with his thoughts. I can certainly understand a lot of his thoughts and the way he feels about running. I can certainly understand that later down the line I'm probably going to be feeling the same. There is a lot to relate to in this book. Murakami recalls certain poignant events in his running life and touches on what it's meant for him, what it's meant for him to be a runner, why he runs, I guess, and goes through what goes through his head, I guess, as he runs. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit of a slow burn at the beginning. First couple of chapters I was kind of thinking maybe I'm just gonna give this book a pass, but I stuck with it, kept on reading it. So I do recommend, even if you do find it a little bit boring at first, carry on going and read it all the way through. It doesn't take very long to read this. If you invest that short amount of time that's going to take to read this book, it may just give you the average runner this reassurance that it's okay to not always do great in running, and it's okay to not be the best, and at times just be like an average runner. Running is far from being just about having the best finishing time, and I think he kind of nails it in some ways in this book. I definitely think, as I mentioned earlier, if you've been running for a very long time, or if you're an older runner, I think you would enjoy this book a little bit more. So I would say, if you get the chance, borrow this book. Okay, so I didn't want to go too in depth with those reviews, just keep them short and sweet. The next book I'm reading right now is a much bigger book. It's more about training now for shorter races, 5Ks, 10Ks. up to the marathon. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to read that. I will certainly do a more in-depth view of that book. It was recommended to me by a family member of mine who does ultramarathons himself. On the point of marathon, very exciting news that I did get into the London Marathon for 2018. So I have something to aim for now. I've also signed up for a local 10-kilometer race here in Lichfield. So that is my next target in a month's time. I'm just starting to get back into doing some running now. I'm taking it very, very easy. I ticked a couple of things off the list. So I got myself a watch, so that's going to help me out a little bit when it comes to training. I also bought a really good pair of recovery shoes to help me for after running, which I can show you some other time. Haven't managed to get hold of a GoPro yet. I think to do what I want to do, I want to have a pretty good one, and they're just a bit too expensive right now. So I'm thinking probably around Christmas time I will get one of those and I can start taking you on some runs with me a little bit more. It's pretty hard to run with the camera I'm using right now. I was doing it before, but you can't run properly like that. So it's going to be a while before I can do many running videos, but I'm certainly going to try and take some video at the Lichfield 10K. And certainly when it comes to the marathon, I'll be taking some video. On the point of the marathon, I'm very, very excited to say that I'm running for Guide Dogs UK. So I'm going to be raising some money for them. I will put the links and everything in following videos for Just Giving page and ways that you can donate. I'm also going to try and go and visit the Guide Dog Centre and show you guys around so you can see where your money's going and what you're helping with. So that's it for today, guys. Videos are probably going to be a little bit slower right now, just whilst I'm settling in and getting my life sorted. But I will continue to do them, I promise. Next up, I think, is going to be organising, going and seeing the guide dogs, and then also getting training ready and my diet ready for this 10K race. So sorry it took so long to get this video to you guys, but I'll be back soon. And as usual, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you soon.